Barclay, right? And I'm an alcoholic. Boy, am I an alcoholic. My name is spelled, if you can read, it's spelled Barclay, right? But I'm from this little town outside of Nashville called Untreated, which if you're from there, you know that I'm saying Mount Juliet, Tennessee, right? And if you grow up in Mount Juliet and you say, hi, I'm Barclay, you get punched in the head, right? So I've just always pronounced my name Barclay. So, hi everybody, I'm Barclay and I'm an alcoholic. It is so good to be here. I love this place. I really, really do. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It really, really is. I want to thank Neil very much. I want to thank Jeremy. You know, he's a big deal. Not quite as big as RJ, but he's a big darn deal. But truly, I've enjoyed my time here. I really had a good time with the kids today. I truly did. My home group is in Nashville, Tennessee, all right? I got to tell you, Nashville is a pocket of enthusiasm, baby. I'm telling you, it is a pocket of enthusiasm. And next month when Steve comes down here, you're going to go, that Barclay guy was terrible. This guy's great, right? But I'm telling you, I love the fact that I happen to get drunk, be born, get drunk, and get sober in Nashville because it is a beautiful place to get sober. It's a beautiful place to get sober. My home group is the page 112 group, okay? Does anybody know what the first three words on page 112 are? Read this book. That's what we do. We read this book, right? It meets on Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock. It's a hybrid meeting. We have an in-person meeting, and we also have online. I will give anybody that would like the Zoom info. I'd love to give it to you. I am madly, madly in love with my home group. I really, really am. It's a great, fun, good. It's always out of the literature. Okay, so that's my home group. So my sobriety date, and get ready to laugh, okay. January 1st of 1990. I barely made it out of the 80s, right? Barely made it out of the 80s. And I'll be honest with you, really all I wanted to do is just quit drinking beer and for a year, so maybe my ex-wife would just shut up. You know what I mean? That's what I could convince myself of, right? It wasn't because I would go to work in the morning, I would stop on the way home from work, I almost said buy a 12-pack of Budweiser. I would put a 12-pack of Budweiser on credit, and I would steal a bottle of NyQuil because a 12-pack of Budweiser wouldn't fit in my other pocket, right? And that was my life, man. I would go to work in the morning, I'd go home, I'd sit on the couch, and I would drink until I passed out, and then I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, every morning, in a rage. I was just like, ugh! We'll get to that. That's not why I quit drinking, right? I quit drinking because I was just gained a little weight. I needed to lose a few pounds. So I come from a family of five people, right? My father was a veterinarian. I can almost guarantee I've done more dog dope than anybody in the room. You laugh. I'm serious, right? You do what you have access to, right? Right? And my dad was a veterinarian. He was a veterinarian back in like the 60s and 70s before there was all this, regulation and stuff, right? He had in his office, he had this room. And it had like one of those old, like plastic, fake faux wood plastic like signs above the door and engraved in white. It said just one word. It said, drugs. I loved that room. I would just go through that room and I would just grab things. Did I know what they were? No. No, but if they ended in a zine or a dream, right, I would just put them in my bag, right? And I mean, and at one point I went, I can't just do that. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. Insane. What would a sane person do? Grind them up and snort them, right? Ah! It really burns. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, I come from a family of 5 people. Now, and this is where, of those 5 people, 3 of us, drugs and alcohol have killed, right? There's 2 of us left, me and 1 brother, and we're both in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I know in my knowingest place that the only reason I'm standing here tonight is because I stumbled into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in January of 1990. I know that. And my brother saw that there was something going on with me, and he ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I know this. There's no other reason for me. I was running in place, baby. Mom had died, my other brother had died, my dad had died, and I was going, my turn, here we go, baby, right? So, let me see. Yeah, so I'm from a family of 5 people. What do I want to talk about now? Okay, so anyway, the first person that alcohol and drugs killed was my mom, right? We had an alcoholic family, and I really, really, really need you to hear this, okay? This is just my story. My family, I always knew that I was loved, always knew I was loved. It was like I grew up in this horrific place, but we were alcoholics, right? And what happened is my dad did stuff that alcoholic guys do. And he was running around having fun, right? And my mom took an overdose and died, right? And it was when I was 8. Okay? Now, I don't worry. I have played that to death, okay? I have used that to death, all right? I do not want sympathy at all. I do not, because I've used that to get grades. I've used that to get girlfriends. I've used that to death, okay? And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. I hope. I better start hurrying up. Okay, so anyway. So then, and then like it kind of was like things kind of blacked out for me. It was my first real blackout. From like the time I was 8 till the time I was 11, I don't remember a whole lot, okay? Because I was a mama's boy, and all of a sudden she was gone, and I was with my dad, who ended up marrying the reason that my mom committed suicide. It was a laugh riot, okay? So anyway, how many of you guys are old enough? How many of you guys are old enough to remember the Brady Bunch? Okay, do you know what for you kids, the Brady Bunch was this wacky TV sitcom. Here's a story. This guy that had 3 sons, and he married a woman with 3 daughters, and hilarity ensued, okay? And in my family, my dad had 3 sons, and he married a woman who had 3 daughters. The same year the Brady Bunch came out, right? Except we were kind of like the Brady Bunch on the bad acid from Woodstock. You know what I mean? It was like, on television, it was like, oh no, both Greg and Marcia want to be student body president. Womp, 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 right? And we were like, oh no, Greg is strung out on heroin and Marcia's pregnant. Oh no. Womp, 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 right? We just had different problems, right? We just had different problems. So like when I kind of came to when I was 11, right, I had 2 major things happen. Really quickly, back in when I was 11 years old, the Jesus Freaks. Did anybody ever heard of the Jesus Freaks? There was this movie that came out a couple of years ago. The Jesus Freaks, who came from California, and they were like, Jesus, Jesus. And they used to be hippies, and now they were Jesus. Well, they came to Nashville. They came to Nashville, right? And I went to this tent revival thing much to their credit, my dad and my stepmother took us to this Jesus Freak meeting, and I went and I had a spiritual experience. I mean, it was like, ah! I mean, it was huge. And I know I was 11, but it was real. It was real. I mean, I was a really screwed up little kid, and I needed something, and my God, Jesus went, no, right? Sorry, that sounded very, very sacrilegious, and that's not at all what it was meant to be. Anyway, so I was like going, yeah, and I was going, yeah, and it was like amazing, and it lasted about 3 weeks, and then it dissipated. And I don't think I actually said this in my brain, but in retrospect, I think what I said was, really? That's all you got? I felt like, woo, for 3 weeks and then it's gone? Thanks, no. But then, right after that, I discovered Boone's Farm, Strawberry Hill. Oh. Now, for you kids, Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill was wine. They called it wine, although it had never seen a grape before, right? And the dad and my stepmom were out of town, and my older brother, I was Bobby, by the way, in the Brady Bunch. I was the youngest boy, and they were having this big party at the house, and I ordered up a bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill, and I've never in my life ever gone like, and I'm burgle, right? And suddenly, I was okay, and you were okay, man. And 5th grade was okay. You know? I love 5th grade. I know all my state capitals. It's just amazing, man. And it was not something that just came and went. It was like I could count on Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill, right? And then I started counting on Stroh's and beer and just anything I could get my greedy little hands on, right? And from the time I was 11 to the time I was 14, I'm not going to say I stumbled around Mount Juliet like going, woo, woo, although I did go woo some because I was from Mount Juliet. But anytime I could get my hands on alcohol, I got it, right? And then when I was 14, I discovered the marijuana. And as soon as I got high, it was like all bets were off. It was like, what do you have? I want all of it. By the way, what was that? Right? That's when I started going, Adrene, Azine, here we go, snort, whatever, right? And my life began completely revolving around getting high and getting drunk. And I loved it. It was the best thing in the world. It was like I had fun. I laughed. It was like manna from in heaven. You know what I mean? It was like, thank God. Thank God. Because it worked. If it hadn't worked, I would have stopped doing it, right? And all the jobs, I had to I had to stop working for my dad in the hospital. And I went out there, every job I ever had was around alcohol, right? Anybody wait tables? Anybody wait tables? Wait tables? Ah, perfect job for a drunk, right? perfect job for a drunk, right? You kind of come to it like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you go, $2? Didn't that used to be like $200? I'm pretty sure that was $200. And you go in and you do your crap, right? You do your crap, and you roll your silver and all that stuff. And it was that stuff. That's the way we pronounce it in Mount Juliet. And anyway, so I actually made pretty good money because I was goofy as hell, right? But you get really good at apologizing as a drunk, stoned waiter, okay? I used to work at this place called the London Fishery. Because when you think seafood, you think Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm working this place, and it's like a Tuesday night. I will never forget it because Tuesday nights are just dead. They're dead in the restaurant world. So I'm sitting there, and I've got this one table, and they've already got their check, and they're just sitting there, right? And it's like 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, and we're just dead. And my manager, his name was Tim. I still remember Tim. Tim goes up and he goes, Barclay, we're closing your station. I went, ha, 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 right? Because I don't know about you, but I got a lot of voices in my head, right? I got a whole bunch of voices up here, right? I got this middle school girl named Natalie, and all she ever says is, nobody likes you. You're stupid. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Nobody likes you. They're going to find out about you and they hate you. I've learned to say, thank you for sharing, Natalie. You can sit down now, right? And I've got a puppy up there that's like, yay, we're having fun now, yay, right? And I've got a colonel up there and he's like, what in the hell is going on around here, right? And I've got this dude named Dude. And Dude, all he ever says is, ooh, ooh, ooh. He makes that face a lot. He makes like, I got an idea. All right? I said, yes, dude. Okay. Stay with me. We're going to go outside. We're going to smoke a big bowl of dope. We're going to come back in, get their check, and go out drinking. Oh, dude. That was phenomenal, dude. That was phenomenal. So I go outside, and I smoke this big bowl of dope. Now, for you kids, when I say the dope, I'm talking about the marijuana, okay? And I have to be honest with you. I know I'm an alcoholic in my core. I'm an alcoholic because about 90% of the time, when I would smoke dope, I would get paranoid, right? I get like, right? I mean, I would just get like, remember this? remember that? Do you remember that? And I was like, oh. So I only smoked it for like 15 years, right? That was stupid. So I go outside and I smoke this big bowl of dope, right? And it's like good. And I like walk back in. And what happened was we had this little rush, right? And not only was my table not gone, they had opened my station and seated me again, right? And there was this guy, this is in the early 80s, and there was this guy with like a leisure suit. Does anybody remember, they had the giant, like these things, right? And his wife had this giant, like 1960s hair, right? That's what, ooh. Good evening. I'm Barclay. I'll be your waiter this evening. And I said, can I get you a drink? Because I take her drink order, right? Very good, very good. I'm turning to dude to take his drink order, and I notice out of the corner of my eye that lady has pulled out a cigarette, okay? The 80s were such a magical time for smokers. You could smoke in restaurants, you could smoke in bars, you could smoke while you were pumping gas, man. It was just, it was such, and I was like, So I know how to make money. I got drinking to go do, right? So I go, click. Now what I had forgotten was when I went outside to smoke that big bowl of dope, I had turned up my lighter to about that big. Right? Do you remember those Bic lighters that had the little wheel on them, right? And you could just go, right? You could weld with them, man. It was like, holy God. By the way, they don't make those anymore. You're welcome. That felt good. So anyway, I go, click, and it goes, whoa! And she must have had like 2 cans of Aquanet in her hair or something, man, because it just went, whoa! I mean, it exploded, man. I mean, wow. And everything like goes into slow motion. I'm going, no. And she's like going, no. And we're just beating her out, and we're beating her out. And I got to slap her on the forehead and like flames would go, woo, woo, woo. I mean, it was just like, we finally got her put out, right? We finally got her put out. And she's just like sitting there going, with like this little tendril of smoke coming up off her head, right? And like all this hair, Daniel, all this hair is still there, right? But all this hair is like, poof! It's like that, right? And we're looking at each other like, well, they got their meal comped, okay? They got their meal comped, right? And I swear, I don't think dude really liked her hair because he gave me a huge tip. He gave me, like, I got some good drinking done that night. Now there's a couple of reasons I tell you guys this, okay? A, because you're sick and you love it, right? That reading that you just did tonight, it's like, try telling that to like normal people, right? You set her on fire? He set her on fire. They don't get it. They really don't get it. But the other reason, this really is the real reason why I tell that story, is because it is the absolute perfect picture of me in untreated alcoholism. A flash, if you will. It is me, because I walk through life and I go, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, and I stumble into you. I stumble into you, and I set you on fire, right? I set your life on fire. And we boom, 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 we try and put you out, and I go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm not lying. It's like, oh God, how did this happen again? I'm so sorry. God, I'm sorry. And then I go, right? And I just keep walking through life, setting people on fire. And then and then tell cute little stories about it, right? That's me. Not drunk. That's me living in untreated alcoholism, right? So, I want to get sober because I want to spend half the time drunk and half the time sober. So that's when I'm in college. I meet a woman that she used to bring over all of her stuff in a. She used to bring over all of her stuff. There was do you have Kroger? I don't know what your big. Okay. Well, they used to sell peanut butter in these big buckets, right? And then you'd eat all the peanut butter, and then you had like a big bucket. You'd go to the beach or something. Well, she used to use the big bucket to bring over all of her makeup and toothbrushes and all that stuff, right? So she came over, and it was a tequila night, and I thought I made it to the bathroom, but I only made it as far as her bucket, and went, right? And that relationship obviously ended up in marriage. And so we got married, and then right after we got married, and honest to God, all this crap that's back when it was working, right? Setting people on fire, vomiting in my, girlfriend's bucket. It's a laugh riot, right? So, right after we got married, my brother, Tim, great guy, much cooler guy than I'll ever be, good looking dude, blah, 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 blah. He was doing some drinking and some Valiums and was on his way home from a bar and ran into a tree and died, right? And within a year of that, because my dad had given him some Valiums to like come down off of some cocaine and stuff, Dad had a lot of guilt, extra guilt, right? And he basically drunk himself to death, right? And right after he drank himself to death, we had our first child. And this is what it was. So when we went to the reading of the will, we found out that my dad had left, folks that were there today, we found out that my dad had left everything. He was pretty successful. He was an alcoholic, but he was a successful dude. He left everything to the woman mom had died, he had married another woman, he left her, married another woman, left her, was living with another woman, and when he died, he left all his money. I'm sorry, he left all my money, right, to the third wife. All my money, all of it, right? My oldest brother and I and Tim's kids split the money that he had on him when he died. And she got all the millions other than that. All. Right? And thus began 3.5 years of just drinking until I passed out. I'm not saying I did it because of that. I did it because I'm an alcoholic, right? But I would literally go to work in the morning. I would stop and buy a 12-pack of Budweiser and a bottle of NyQuil because all I wanted to do was sleep, man. God, I just wanted to sleep. And I'd pass out. I wake up at 3, and I had a deal with myself. If I don't drink myself back to sleep by 5, I'm going to switch over to coffee and go on into work. And I went to work drunk a lot, right? So, New Year's Eve in 1989, I'm watching Dick Clark, and the ball drop, right? And I wrote down this thing. What are my New Year's resolutions? Okay. I need to quit drinking beer. I need to quit drinking beer for a year, right? I swear to God, I need to quit, I need to lose some weight. And then I was known as the guy that joined AA to lose weight, right? Because I had lose weight, and then underneath that was quit drinking beer for a year, and then underneath that was continue psychotherapy, right? And then underneath that was go to AA meetings when necessary. Only when absolutely necessary, right? And I found it a few years later, and the first thing was quit drinking. Quit drinking, man. So I went into this meeting, and I thought I had problems. Damn, right? I just drank a little bit too much. I had forgotten about snorting dog dope, okay? But like there were guys, oh yeah, I used to drink mouthwash. Right? God bless, man. But you had something. You laughed. Honest to God, that's what it was. You laughed. And I went, dude, my soul wants that. I hadn't laughed in a long time. That's why I had you read that. The first time I ever read the big book, there were two sentences I remember. One was, I would still my wife's forebodings and tell her that the greatest imaginations of man were so derived by being drunk, right? And I went, yeah, duh, I'm brilliant when I'm drunk, right? I just set people on fire. And the other one was on page 132, 17 lines down, 17 lines up, 2 words in on either side. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. We absolutely insist on it. The steps are a suggestion, but we insist on enjoying life, right? And you had me. That music of laughter made me come back, right? And I'm gonna speed up a little bit. And then I got sober, and everything's been better ever since. That was a lie. That was a lie. So I really did. I did almost everything you told me to do. Seriously. I was willing to go to many lengths. Many, many lengths, right? Matter of fact, I've gone back and kind of looked at it, kind of getting ready to come over here and talk today. I did 97.25% of the stuff you guys told me to do. I did. Right? I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those I did 6, 7. I did 8, 9 with the bitch that got all my money. I did. I called her up. She was the last one. She was the last one. I called her up and went, "Hi, Billy. You know," and it's really what. I'm making this I'm making this a lot goofier than it was. It was hard. It was blisteringly hard. But it was something I was willing to do. I said, look, when Dad died, I expected to get his money. And nobody owes me anything. You don't owe me anything. Dad didn't owe me anything. I was wrong. I'd like to know what I can do to make it right. And she said, never contact me again. I went, okay, right? And I did that, damn it. I did that. And to me, I did 10, I kind of did 11. I have a very busy brain. I have a very busy brain, okay? Natalie won't shut up. Dude still has ideas, you know. There's crap going on up there. But I do 11 to the best of my ability, you know what I mean? And I had, and then 12th step, it says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result, not a result, the result, the one result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I had had a spiritual awakening, and the desire to drink was just lifted out of me. And I tried my very best to live these spiritual principles in my life. But I did not try to carry this message. I did 97.25% of what you bastards told me to do. Right? I'm sorry, I'm cussing. Of what you knucklehead kids told me to do. And at the end of 2.5 years, I have a thing about suicide, right? But if you wanted to like push me in front of a bus, that would have been cool, right? I was miserable, man. I was miserable. My life wasn't terrible, but I was miserable. And God put this guy in my life, Don Roy. And Don Roy, thank you, Don Roy. He said, you're just nothing but a rim runner. And I went, what's that? And I did, man. I ran all around the edges of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'd come to this meeting and I'd say cute things. And you go, oh, that Barclay, oh, right? And I'd go to this meeting and I'd say my cute things. And I ran out of cute things there. I'd go over there. And I came late. I left early. I was a rim runner. And he said, you're going to get in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're going to get a home group. You're going to get there early. You're going to make coffee. You're going to greet people. You're going to stay there late and clean up crap. There was this thing called ashtrays. Right. And you're going to start sponsoring guys. And I started sponsoring guys, and that made all the difference. I really want to that made all the difference. It made all the difference. It took it from this really cool idea in my head to this actual beautiful thing that I was able to share with people. What it really was is I tried to be useful, right? I had spent all my time trying to be happy, right? And I thought something would come of that. And it says, 12 and 12, page 15, preface, right? It says, AA's 12 steps are a set of principles, spiritual in their nature, which if practiced as a way of living, will expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole, right? Whole. I become a happy, useful human being. And it's my experience that I only get happy from being useful. God knows. Take my word for it. You probably won't. I wouldn't either. But just trying to be happy and going, I'm doing great. I'll be over here blowing my brains out, right? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Be useful. Happy comes along right behind it. So, a lot of stuff has come and gone in my sobriety. There's a couple of things I really want to talk about that have happened in the past couple of 3 or 4 years. First off, after Don started working with me, he got me sponsoring guys. My life started going ridiculously well, stupidly well. My marriage got better. My job got better. I ended up making more money than I knew what to do with. I got this job that people would applaud me at work. I would be working and they go, Barclay, yeah, right? I do not need that, right? And I fell in love with my ego. I fell in love with my ego, right? And the money said, you're doing so good. And the people around me said, you're doing so good. And I said, look what I have done, right? Right? And I started like, not even missing meetings, just kind of, right? Just kind of easing out, right? And the guys that I was sponsoring went, right? And I ended up completely burning my life to the ground. I have a thing about fire, right? Burning my life to the ground, stone cold sober. I never even thought about drinking. But I ruined my marriage. I ruined my relationship with my kids. I blew up everything. Everything. Stone cold sober. And I had to start all over again. And it was like, at one point, I finally went, I was working with this active drunk who was he was not as big a deal as you, But he was a pretty big deal, right? And he's active alcoholic, and I remember the thought coming, if I could just get drunk with him, we could see eye to eye. And I went, right? So anyway, I got slapped awake. And I got with my current sponsor, and we started going through the steps again, and I started kind of trying to rebuild my life. And I ended up, that job went away, and then there was this thing back in 2008, 2009 called the Great Recession. You may or may not remember it. You may not have even had it out here. We sure had it in Nashville. And all that work went away, and I was desperate. And this friend of mine in that business sent me an email and said, hey, they're looking for a TV teacher at McGavock High School. Ugh. Right? McGavock is a high school that serves an inner city population, right? And I'm a big damn deal, right? And they want me to like teach high school kids, right? And that's why I called up my sponsor and said, can you believe that? He said, you got anything else going on? I went, so I sent off my resume on a Thursday night. I got a call on Friday morning, and I started teaching on Monday. That's how it went. And I went, you talk to your sponsor about this, man? You know, you got like any idea how much those people make in Tennessee, right? And I did not want to do it, but I was willing to just follow directions. I fell in love with it, man. It's exactly what God put me on earth to do, right? It's what I'm supposed to do. And I just started going, I don't know what I'm doing, but here we go, right? And everything I touched just went ding. And the kids started going, yay, ding, right? And all this stuff started happening. And I only tell you this, well, I kind of tell you this to kind of impress you, right? But I've been told to tell this part of my story. What ended up happening is I got Teacher of the Year. I go, by the way, I'm the guy that snorts dog dope, right? In the nose, right? I got Teacher of the Year. The President of the United States of America came to McGavock to talk about this thing, and like goes, Barclay Randall is a good teacher. And I went, right? And I'm telling you, it was what I was supposed to do. It was not what I wanted to do. It was not what I wanted to do. It was only because I was willing to follow directions I did not want to take, right? And it's what I'm supposed to do. So, money ain't the same, right? Thank you. I told you about my dad and the money and all that stuff, right? I'm telling you this because this is a friend of mine. You should have him up here, Jack Wheeler. He's from Colorado, right? Jack says after a while the numbers just kind of fall off the steps, right? And that's true. It's just like you start doing this thing as a way of life. So now I'm going to work step 4 on that. It's just, and I've continued, because remember when last we saw Billy, she said, never contact me again. And I never did. I never contacted her again. But I continued to do work on that, right? And I was looking around for some stuff, and I found my original 4th step. And my first 4th step, every single resentment I had was about money. Every single resentment. I hated my wife because she spent money. I hated my kids because they cost money. I hated my job because it didn't pay me enough money. I mean, literally everyone was about money, right? And so I've been applying these principles to my disease for years now, right? And about 5-6 years ago, part of it came to me that had it not been for that circumstance in my life, that I never would have made it to Alcoholics Anonymous. Because all I wanted to do is I just wanted to sleep. That's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. And I used to wake up every night hating at her and hating at my dad. And I went, okay. And this, I'm kind of remedial AA, I'm remedial spirituality. Like maybe 3 years ago, it came to me that like, if I had my brother Tim, the one that died, what happened to him is somebody had hit him when he was on his way to school, and he'd had to sue them, and he'd gotten like a $42,000 settlement. And $42,000, he went out and he bought a badass 260Z, right? Cause yeah, right? And he bought a cool sound system, and he bought an ounce of cocaine, cause duh, right? Right? And that's what he needed the Valiums for, and that's what made him pass out, and that's what killed him, right? 42 grand. If I had gotten $1 million when I was 26 years old, there's no doubt, there's no doubt I would be dead. It's not like, oh, I'd probably be dead. I would be dead, period. I literally owe Billy and my dad my life. I owe them my life. That's different, you know? That's different. And that's God. That's God. It is a Howard, I can't remember who said, I think maybe it was Sandy Beach, I'm not sure, said that, you know, AA not only gave me a new future, AA gave me a new past. I really do. I have a new past. I used to be absolutely the victim of everything. I was a walking around victim. If your mom, when you were a kid, had blah, 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 and then your dad had blah, 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 and your stupid ex-wife had blah, 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 right? I was just the eternal victim. And now I am the beneficiary of this amazing life that God has given me, this cool adventure, right? That he's placed me on. And I gotta say, in 3 weeks, I'm gonna be retiring, and I have a new adventure. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to it. I may be driving through here. I'm gonna hop in a car, and I'm gonna drive up to Vancouver for the international, right? And then we'll see what happens. I don't know. But I gotta tell you, you guys have made me feel so welcome. You really, really have. One thing that I do with every class is I try and I fill the room with love, because those kids, they don't come from the best backgrounds. They really don't. And what they just need is they need love. And I find that love is I hear that love is the most powerful, is the most powerful power in the universe. Whatever that. Sometimes I'm a real wordsmith. I honestly think it's the only power in the world. There's love and there's lack of love, right? And there's nothing that love can't break through. Nothing can withstand love. So I love you. I love you. I love you. And thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. I really do.